Good day, people of the world. How have you been? Today I'm going to talk about tithe and giving to churches. Before I do in, gonna need you to subscribe to this channel. It's an amazing channel that you'll learn a lot from. Trust me when I say so. Also, like and share. Now let's talk about tithing. The concept of tithing or giving 10% of one's income to a church is a deeply rooted practice in many religious traditions, particularly Christianity. However, some people argue that tithing can be exploitative or even a scam in certain contexts. Here are some reasons why critics view tithing negatively. Firstly, misuse of funds by pastors. Some megachurch pastors live extravagant lifestyles, private jets, luxury homes, expensive cars, funded by tithes, while their members suffer. Lack of financial transparency in churches makes it difficult to track how tithe money is used. Secondly, manipulative and coercive tactics. Some preachers use fear-based teachings, suggesting that failing to tithe will result in curses or divine punishment. Malachi 3:8-10 is often cited out of context. Prosperity gospel preachers falsely promise that tithing will guarantee financial blessings, exploiting vulnerable believers. The third on my list, believe me, tithing isn't a New Testament requirement. The Old Testament tithe, the Leviticus 27:30, was part of the Mosaic law, which also included agricultural and communal provisions that don't apply today. Jesus and the apostles emphasized voluntary generosity. 2 Corinthians 9:7. Each of you should give what you have decided in your heart to give, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. Fucking givers, not tithers, rather than a strict 10% rule. Number 4, financial burden on the poor. Yeah, they oppress the poor a lot more than the fucking politicians. Pressuring low-income families to give 10% of their earnings can worsen their financial struggles, while wealthy leaders benefit. Jesus criticized religious leaders who devour widows' houses, Mark 12:40, who devour widows' houses, and 4, a pretense make long prayers. They will receive the greater condemnation. Yet some churches still pressure the poor to tithe beyond their means. Guilt tripping and spiritual abuse. Members who question tithing may be shamed or labeled as faithless, creating a toxic environment where tithes. This is discouraged. Some churches track giving records and pressure members who don't tithe enough. Wealthy churches hoarding money. Some large churches accumulate millions or billions in assets without redistributing to meaningful causes, contradicting Jesus' teachings on helping the needy. Matthew 19:21. Guilt tripping and spiritual abuse. Members who question tithing may be shamed or labeled as faithless, creating a toxic environment where tithes. This A is discouraged. Some churches track giving records and pressure members who don't tithe enough. Wealthy churches hoarding money. Some large churches accumulate millions or billions in assets without redistributing to meaningful causes, contradicting Jesus' teachings on helping the needy. Matthew 19:21. Tithing was agricultural, not monetary. Biblical tithing involved crops and livestock, not cash. Deuteronomy 14:22, Dita 23. Modern tithing is a reinterpretation that benefits organized religion financially. No accountability for church spending. Some churches spend very little on charity missions or community aid, instead funneling money into salaries, buildings, and marketing. Unlike nonprofits, many churches are legally required to disclose finances, leading to potential abuse. In conclusion, while giving to support the religious community can be a sincere act of faith, critics argue that mandatory tithing, especially in exploitative systems, can function as a scam. Transparency, voluntary giving, and ethical stewardship would address many of these concerns. Would you like biblical alternatives to tithing? Or examples of churches misusing funds? Even if you don't, I'll tell you, let me dance first. DJ, play me YMCA.
It's fun to stay at the YMCA. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. They have everything for your men to enjoy. You can hang out.
Modern believers could give based on their ability and conviction, not guilt. 2. Supporting the needy directly, James 1:27, Acts 20:35, instead of giving 10% to a church. Some Christians prefer donating to charities, food banks, or individuals in crisis. Jesus emphasized helping the poor, not funding lavish ministries. 3. Free will offerings. Exodus 35:29, 1 Chronicles 29, 9*. Even in the Old Testament, offerings beyond the tithe were given willingly, not under pressure. Communal sharing acts. 244, et Orsh 45:2. Communals 45:2. Early Christians pooled resources to help struggling members, not to build megachurches. You might have thought that I don't know what I'm saying. Maybe because you are dumb. So I'm going to make it easy for you by giving your dumb ass a list of some motherfuckers called Daddy Go Whoa, who are currently getting fat on your hard-earned money. Examples of churches and pastors misusing tithes. Many televangelists and megachurches have been exposed for financial exploitation. 1. Kenneth Copeland owns multiple private jets, a $20 million lakefront mansion, and refuses to disclose finances despite claiming divine blessings from tithing. Said God told him to buy a $54 million jet while followers struggle. 2. Creflo Dollar preached that tithing guarantees wealth, yet asked congregants to fund his $65 million private jet lives in. A mansion while teaching that poverty is a curse. Ederes, life does. Lifestyle before scandals.